order to have an identity, one that is actively defended, promoted, protected, well, you need to clearly define your identity. And the best way to do that is by race, because race is the only tangible thing which gives people identity. Other things people choose to identify with these days, white people specifically in Australia, because they're not permitted to identify with their racial heritage, they identify with mental illness. They'll introduce themselves as bipolar or manic depressive disorder or schizophrenic or something similar. They'll identify with ideology, feminism. They'll use ideas and thought processes as identities, or even mental health status. They'll dye their hair in funky colors or dress in a certain way which they feel gives them an identity. But all of these identities are abstract. They only exist inside their own minds. What's not abstract is your ethnicity, is your race. It's a physical reality. It's who we are, right? It's a genetic reality. So I think the reason conservatives are so afraid of the concept of identity is because the strongest way to build or establish identity is to clearly define that there's an ethnicity. There should be an ethnic identity in the Australian people. But what they're most afraid of, I think, is the best way to establish an identity is to also declare an enemy, an outsider who's threatening that identity, who's threatening your ethnic communities, right? Because not only do you need to clearly define your identity ethnically, you also need to establish an enemy to that identity. And they're too afraid to do that. That's war talk, and conservatives aren't really built for that kind of language.